Alright, what's good YouTube? It's your boy, JOJOASMR. I'm here with POE Don't Worry, POE Dark World, and Peter MITRO.
Yeah.
We flew over from Sydney to play at the YCS, the 250th in LA. I made top 8, Peter made top 16, and POE also made top 8, but lost it because could have won it.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
Bit sad.
Let's do shout outs first, I guess, quickly. Shout outs to everyone back in Australia. Yeah, just shout outs to Alliance Games, Strike One Collectibles, Post Store, pretty good. Just everyone online for being awesome and, you know, sending their congrats and stuff. Big shout outs to Peter and POE for helping me and, you know, try to get better at the game and for their list, and they put in a lot of work, so I couldn't do it without them.
And one more shout out to JONAH for getting top 8 of these.
Yeah, well done.
Let's
go!
Okay, so we pretty much played the exact same list. Peter and I played the most identical list, but POE's list was slightly different. For the cash lineup, we played 3 Unicorn, obviously, 3 Fenrir, obviously, 2 Rise Heart, obviously, 1 Scare Cash. We didn't play Ogre or KASHTIRA preparations. Didn't really feel like they were necessary. The only reason you would need to play Ogre is for the lock 5 combo, the 3 card combo, but we wanted to play like other non-engine cards and not really brick on Ogre and Preppers. We didn't really think those cards were that good. Then we also played 3 Field Spell, Terraforming, obviously, played 3 Birth, and the only one of the differences between Peter and I versus POE is we only played 2 Theosis, which might be a little controversial, but we were just so sick of drawing only KASHTIRA spells and no KASHTIRA monsters, which still happened to me in top 8, and is the reason I lost to Paul, which sucks, but it's whatever. POE played 3 of this one, which is probably correct to be honest, but whatever. And then of course we played the Big Bang. Next we played like 21 non-engine cards. So POE played 3 Prosperity, but we actually played 2 Prosperity and a Pot of Desires. The reason is for another card that we'll get into in the list. Peter and I played 3 Ash Blossom and 3 Impem. But POE, I think, played like 3 Ash, 2 Impem, and 2 Nibirus, which makes sense, like especially if you're expecting like some of the mirror and some smart players to play into Nib. But this was like good enough. And then the best cards all weekend, like the most broken cards that really just carried me at least. I played, I think, like 10 mirror matches this weekend, and this was like playing with like hacks on. The most broken cards in the game by far at the moment were 3 Thrust and 3 Talents. These cards were broken. Like, you draw any of the combination of these cards going second in the mirror match, even like going first, like these cards win you the game immediately. A lot of people at the YCS, especially in the mirror, they were playing like these 1-for-1 trade cards like Book of Moon, Forbidden Chalice, Forbidden Lands, Cosmic Cyclone, and they're like 1-for-1 trading. But these cards are like a 1 for your entire board and life savings. So the idea is like, if you draw like, say for example, Talents or like Tasking plus a Duster, or any sort of way to load a card in the graveyard, especially...
Rise Heart's mandatory.
Yeah, like we were just expecting mirrors to basically just go 3 Material Rise Heart pass, which almost all of them did for some reason. And we would just load any card in the graveyard, trigger the Rise Heart, thrust for a Duster, wipe all of their back row, so they have no follow-up. And then you just tactics, you can take their guy, you can take their Fenrir that was summoned off the Big Bang, and it'll trigger the Arise Heart, but you just change, like on Resolution, Fenrir banish the Arise Heart, and that was a pretty good way to also out like the Forbidden Lands. So these like 7 cards were the strongest card all weekend, even going first. If you draw the Thrust, for example,
There was a lot of gamma.
There was a lot of gamma, for example, and so this card was pretty live going first. And we were just always playing to nib. We had no fear. We would always play into Nibiru, because even if we get nibbed, we're going to like thrust for Talents, either look at your hand or draw 2 and have follow-up next turn. And especially when you draw these cards that Peter and I main decked, we actually main decked counter traps. So we played 3 Solemn Strike, and POE didn't play Solemn Strike in the main. He played, I think he just like, this is the Nibiru slot for him and the 3rd Theosis. But Peter and I decided to play 3 Judgment and 3 Strike in the main deck. This is like pretty funny. And a lot of people might say, aren't these cards bad going second? Which they aren't exactly fantastic, but the thrust and the tactics and like the 12 hand traps and the 13 going second cards were so strong enough to the point where you can afford to just play these super high impact going first cards. Especially in the mirror, it doesn't feel super safe sometimes. But if you just back up your board with a strike or a judgment, you just can't lose. If you win the die roll with this version of the deck, we pretty much just never lost because you just do your full board, play into nib, you can thrust for tactics, draw 2 into counter traps, they still can't play. So yeah, like this was our take, I guess, on the deck. But it's really like the idea of playing the thrusts and the tactics and the talents in the main deck, like the 6, were pretty much Poe and Peter's idea. And it was like playing with hacks. Like the mirror was, I didn't lose a single mirror match going second with just 1 thrust in the deck. Played, extra deck's pretty standard. There's nothing really too much to be said. It's 3 Arise Hearts, 2 Shangri-Era. Shoutouts to Golden Big Eye.
Two's important for the big guy.
Yeah, it's pretty important. You always want to take their guy, you can make a Zeus or take their Arise Heart, which is important. Cut their follow-up. Dad and the Mind Hack, obviously. This one should be banned. The Entis and the Garuda and the Baron and the JONAH. Shoutouts to JONAH, this one's good. The side deck, we all had pretty much similar side decks. Obviously, like D-Shifter was one of the best ones versus all the rogue decks. I decided last minute to put in Dark Ruler into the deck because it was pretty decent versus Sprite, and I wanted to really respect the Sprite deck, and there was a lot of Sprite. I just didn't play any. Peter played only against Sprite.
I played 6.
So this one was in theory good. Also, you can hit Nat Beast, I guess, which is solid, and like other random decks. I played double Ghost Spell just to have something for the Despia deck. Didn't play against a single Despia. Where were they?
Yeah, I played the Evenlies over the Dark Rulers.
Yeah, and because that one's also pretty good versus like the mirror and like the Sprite deck, I guess. We sided 3 Nibiru's. Even going, like, I sided this one a lot just for the mirror match. You always have to just see and try to guess what they're going to do. But I would just side this in even if they were going for the Arise Heart, because like the thrusts and the tactics deal with 3 material Arise Heart, and these just deal with like the most simple way to deal with the combo version of the deck. Obviously good versus rogue decks too.
And luckily the other people weren't playing tactics and thrust. So
yeah, so like we would nib them. I would practice with Peter, and this card would feel bad because they would just thrust and draw 2 or like whatever. But this one was good. This card was actually MVP.
that one's so good against a single Arise Heart.
Yeah, the LS was really good. Also just good versus the Sprite deck, for example, just to knock out everything. Like Dark Ruler Lightning Storm was like super good. And yeah, and then the last card we played was 1 D barrier in the main deck, in the side deck, sorry. The idea of this one was to basically, it was just for Despia, pretty much. If you get branded Expulsion, essentially, in the draw phase, because they're going to trigger the Alubar of the Expulsion, you can thrust for the barrier, and then even if you're gimmick puppeted, you set the barrier, and you floodgate them back and try to win on the crackback. So that was the idea with this one. But obviously, D-Barrier just in general is like broken, and it's searchable off thrust. So, yeah. So that was the list. Yeah. Shoutouts to Australia. Anything you want to say?
Kit the Viet.
Shoutouts to Kit the Viet. And shoutouts to Lachlan Cusick. Good man. Yeah. And thanks for watching. Bye.
That's Oj.
That's Oj.